Hello. I'm figuring out how to add more people, so give me a second.
Awesome. I am trying to fix my camera.
Hello, everyone. We're going to be doing a panel in a second. I'm still adding our guests. How's everyone doing? Hello. Hey, Brianda.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm trying to figure out where Hema is. I don't know why it won't let me invite her.
She has to request to join, I think.
Hema, can you try requesting to join? Okay, I think waiting for it to catch up and let me accept Hema, but
okay, I'm
there you
here.
all are. Thanks for everyone who's joining. I'm Adriana Gonzalez Camarena. I use she, her, ella pronouns. I'm the Leadership Development Manager at Aliento, and I'm part of a mixed status family. My parents are undocumented, and I have siblings that are DACA recipients, while I myself am a U.S. citizen. I do know that there's a lot going on. A lot happened this week, and that might mean that the women on this call are especially vulnerable. And I just want to acknowledge that as we move into a conversation about mental health. So what is Mental Health Awareness Month? It's the whole month of May, and it's just meant to build awareness around mental health, right? That's simple. It's awareness about those living with mental or behavioral health issues, and it's meant to help reduce the stigma around mental health. Aliento is doing some Instagram live series that will happen every Thursday of May at 6 p.m. if you guys want to join. The theme for this specific live is surface pressures, the challenges of the first generation. So we'll be talking a little bit about our challenges and our experiences as being part of the first generation in our families. So I'm going to ask all of our panelists to introduce themselves, say a little bit about themselves, and answer whether you've seen Encanto. I don't know if you guys noticed, but our title is very much a callback to Encanto.
I can start. So my name is Darian. I a current student at Harvard. Just finishing up my first year for last week of finals. And I have not seen Encanto actually. I feel like this is one of the things that like I brushed over to the point that I never got back to it. So I have not seen it. I honestly don't think I'm gonna see it. But I'm very open to hearing what everyone has to say about the movie.
I can go next. My name is Gemma Sanchez Gomez. I'm currently a senior in high school, and next year I'll be going to Santa Clara University. And I am also part of a mixed status family. My siblings and I are U.S. citizens, but my parents are undocumented. I have documented cousins, undocumented cousins, cousins who are citizens. So I've definitely seen it all, and I've seen everyone struggle through different things in their experience. this, but I have seen Encanto. And my favorite part of Encanto is definitely Maluma because I love Maluma and I also love Carlos Vives. But yeah, I'll pass it to Brianda.
Hello, my name is Brianda Moreno Verdugo. I am also part of a mixed status family. I also have family members that some of them are citizens, some of them are undocumented, some of them also have DACA, and it's just like that. I have currently finished my first year at GCU, so I'm slowly going into being a senior this year. And I have seen Aliento a couple times, and it's okay. I don't really like it. I don't really hate it. It's okay for me.
I mean, Encanto's whole thing is talking about generational trauma, so I felt it was fitting. Sorry, my dog's kind of messing with something, but anyway, we wanted to talk about the troubles and the struggles of the first generation. So, what have been, all of you have been the first in your family to do X, Y, or Z, right? You've all done something that was different from everything else your family members have done. What have been the challenges of being the first person in your family to do what you've done?
I can start. I'll be the first person in my family to go out of state for college, and while that's totally not discrediting like the efforts of the people in my family, like my cousins who have gone to in-state university, it's a new frontier in its own right, but this is my new frontier and one that I am going to embark on very, very soon. But I really am feeling at this moment as like I navigate this first, I'm but like I sometimes I think I have very limited life experience, so everything seems sort of scary to me. And it's not just scary in the sense I'm going to be in a new environment. I think it's scary because there's so much guilt that comes with leaving and so much like I just think that I'm selfish for going and like following my dreams, even though my family has been nothing but supportive and I'm so fortunate. But yeah, basically like my main fear in this whole process is that I'm kind of uprooting everything that everything that my parents have worked for. So they're definitely turning to me and my sister now to kind of get them out of this. Like, I know at Aliento we talk a lot about limbo and how that relates to like immigration status and stuff. So I think now I kind of feel like I'm robbing my parents of the opportunity to kind of get a house and kind of have more stability here. I'm leaving my brother who's 11 and my brother who's 16. So definitely a lot of guilt, but also a lot of excitement. And I love that throughout this entire process, I've kind of watched my mom's kind of go on this journey with me and see her unfulfilled dreams and how I'll hopefully like do things that they're really proud of. And I'm sure Brianda and Darian and Adriana all feel this exact same way. It's definitely very scary, and I think it'll never stop being scary. It's just up to us to take that leap and take that jump. But I'd love to know more about your experience, Brianda, with being the first person in your family to go to college.
So for me, I feel fine with it. I don't really feel like my family was pressuring me to do it. Well, except for my mom. She's like, "Oh, you have to go to school. You have to go get a higher education. I don't want you being like me, working in a really bad workplace and all that stuff." So that's like something that's like pushing me to keep getting a higher education, so I don't have to deal with what she's dealing, such as not getting paid enough, working minimum wage, working multiple jobs. So that's just something that I thought about while I was going to university. And even though I'm doing university here in Arizona, I'm fine with it, but it is a little bit scary just to be a little bit away from your family and having transportation issues, such as not having a car, not having a bike, or anything like that. So I just have to rely on different forms of transportation to be able to get to school and home. But I feel fine with being the first generation student. What about you, Darian?
Yeah, thank you guys. I definitely think it's something we should be very proud of, and it's something we've talked about our entire lives since we were young. That's why our parents brought us here. We had we have here the opportunity for an education, something that my parents didn't have. My parents had to drop out of school very early, work in the fields. So for us, this is really almost like the purpose of our existence in a sense. So we talked about it since elementary school, kindergarten, college was a subject of conversation, and a goal for us. So then going to senior year, it's really a real kind of situation, and you feel the pressure and the heat. So it's really, I feel like it's the right or quote unquote right kind of feeling should be like pride that we're actually doing this, but of course, it's an insane pressure to think that we have to do this, that we are our parents' retirement plans, and that there are so many invisible challenges that come with this, especially us being part of mixed status families. I'm a DACA recipient. I was very fortunate to have made that really short deadline and recently become a DACA recipient through this new opportunity last year. However, I know a lot of students, such as my sister, who didn't have that same opportunity. So it's that imposter syndrome of having to be perfect because you were given this chance. And although we work so hard for it and we put everything on the line for it, we continuously feel like we have to prove to somebody, to this higher force, that we deserve it. So it's very tolling on our minds, and often it's hard to communicate these things with people, with our own family. Of course, we're first generation. Not everyone has or the understanding of these situations. So being able for us to just find someone to talk to at times is difficult. So I mean, I'm really excited to talk about these things. I feel like this might be the first time I actually get to talk about these invisible challenges with other people, especially those who went through them as well.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you talked about like wanting, like having to be perfect, right? This need to prove yourself because your parents traveled to a whole new country that they weren't comfortable in, didn't speak the language in most cases, have been working jobs where they're not being paid enough, and they've made all these sacrifices for your education. Often it's for your education. And there is that pressure, but I think Hema and I relate more in like the guilt that comes from our citizenship, because I have siblings that are documented, and they I had my oldest brother started college, so I'm not the first one to go to college in my family. I have older siblings who went before me. Um, Still first generation, but I had some support with my older siblings. But my brother started college and DACA hadn't been it wasn't a thing yet. So he was undocumented, and there were a lot of different pressures and a lot of different barriers that he faced, and it was a lot scarier. He was going to school in Philly, and he traveled by train from California because he was scared that if he tried to get on a plane, they would deport him. And there's a lot of instances where like chatting with your family makes you feel guilty about like your own accomplishments and your own like your own citizenship, which isn't something that like it's all arbitrary, right? It's something you're born into. It's not like in the US, it's something you're born into, and it's all arbitrary. Like borders are all arbitrary, but they matter in this society, and it does, at least for me, it has left a lot of guilt with what I've been able to do. I've been able to travel abroad, and it's things that not my siblings and my parents haven't been able to do. How Hema mentioned a little bit of guilt. How have you managed your guilt, or how have you worked on your mental health while still working on your relationships with your family?
Oh my God, that the guilt, I think definitely just, I think I've had to accept that it comes from being a girl, and it comes from being like Mexican, and it comes from being a part of an immigrant family, and like learning, like as much as it sounds cheesy, that's always gonna be a part of me. And even though um, it'll be always my choice to act on the things that I feel. So I've as everyone have struggled with a lot of mental health issues in the past and continue to struggle with them, just because you're trying to be a teenager, and when your life and emotions are in technicolor, like everything is in technicolor, everything feels like it's so intense, so overwhelming. um, so I think for me, the biggest comfort has been talking to my cousins and talking to my parents, who, even though they're not having the same experience as me, have struggled in their own right. And as much as it feels like I'm navigating this blindly, I think the hardest part isn't like the actual situation. I think is reaching out and being honest about what I'm feeling and not being embarrassed that I'm like crying in like 5-second bursts about things sometimes. It's definitely very real, and I'm not going to get anywhere ignoring the things that I feel. So, like I said before, definitely talking to my sister, which I'm so fortunate to have, and it's been like the buddy system. She went before me, and she walked so I could run. Like, she has definitely helped me with like financial aid stuff and just like the logistical part. But as far as the emotional part, I think sometimes it's even more overwhelming to talk to family, because they're like, oh, you're doing this beautiful thing, this new exciting thing. And I feel like I have to always put on a brave face, because like they're always like, you have to be strong when you're over there. You have to, you're going to be away from us for the first time. So I'm definitely, there's been times when I tried to not show weakness when I'm like with my family, but I think the biggest thing is, looking to people who I admire and who have gone through similar things, and talking to them and having honest conversations like the one we're having now, and removing guilt out of the equation, because it's not ultra productive to feel guilty for things I didn't choose, and just learning how to harness that like beautiful gift that I've been given, and this amazing opportunity to be a U.S. citizen and have parents that are so smart and so present and so dedicated, and siblings that are always willing to cheer me on, and family that's so strong. So definitely acknowledging everything that I have has been the biggest part, and that's definitely made me feel like I'm going in with the proper toolbox. But yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it sounds like your support systems have both have impacted your mental health in a mostly positive way. How has being a first generation college student impacted your mental health, Darian and Brianda?
I can quickly touch. I think one of the big things, and Hema was touching on it too, is how we often don't really know ourselves what kind of help we would like to have when it comes to stress or anxiety, or understanding next steps in our like current, immediate, or long-term life. I feel like if we did know, I mean, I'd like to think that we'd ask, but we don't even know, and we're discovering kind of as we go. So as we're approaching different circumstances, even if resources are provided by schools and departments and programs, they're hard to take advantage of because of this unexpected and like unexplored territory that we're going into. With our own families, it's hard to communicate the things not only that they haven't experienced, but we haven't experienced. So it's very small details, whether it's just like sleep schedules, whether it's food, whether it's the way you communicate with your friends and peers, the way you compare yourself to your peers. it's very difficult and very tiring. We don't often really know exactly what it is that we should be doing or how we feel we want to be supported, which makes it all the more difficult. But in the end, I think the main kind of message is that it's often this like sense of being cautiously optimistic. We want to think that we are doing justice to the efforts and struggles of our parents throughout such a long time by being in these positions. So then, when we encounter maybe a not so satisfying grade, or maybe we just didn't get the program we wanted to do, maybe we feel like we aren't doing enough, and we're filling every slot of our schedule with a random kind of like piece of involvement on campus. We don't feel like we could ever do justice all of those efforts and all of those sacrifices that were done all those years ago by our parents and are consistently done to this day. So whenever I call my mom, I try and just talk to her and tell her about the things I'm doing, and then hopefully, get like some sort of reciprocation of joy or excitement or happiness. And when I do, it feels so surreal. But often I find myself just kind of like spitting out a resume to her because I want to tell her and demonstrate to her that everything she did is worth it, and that I'm working and I'm trying to do the best to the best of my abilities, succeed in whatever standard that may be, which can be very difficult because not only are we unaware with the standard of success, we're unaware with what success might actually be, and we're unaware with what our parents and our culture, our Latino, our Hispanic, or whatever background or culture might expect of us because we are first generation. So Brianda, if you have anything else.
Wait, quickly. And I think part of like what you said in terms of like we don't always know what support we need is because it is stigmatized and we don't really talk about mental health. I know that for my freshman year in college, I was going through a lot and it was a big transition. And we had like psychological, it was CAP, which is counseling and psychological services on campus. And I tried to make an appointment and I wanted a person of color. I wanted a Latina, someone who like knew my community. And I couldn't get an appointment for a month. So that's another thing, accessibility. And it's like, even when you do know what kind of help you want, it's hard to get for our communities. But what has been your experience with mental health as a first gen, Brianda?
So for me, I feel like my family just doesn't understand the things that I'm going through, at least right now, because there's a lot of stress with being the first generation, being the first generation to go to get a higher education, and they just don't understand that there are many times that I just feel so sorry. Okay, that I just feel so tired of trying to be perfect, trying to be the best that I can, and there are other times where I'm just like, I want to give up. I'm tired of this. I just want to be done with school, but I need to keep pushing through. Um, so like, there's a mentality of um, that I need to do this. I need to keep going, and if not, then I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I also feel like if I'm not doing anything productive, I'm wasting my time. I'm being lazy. I'm not doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing. And there's like, I don't know how to describe it, but there's a feeling of like emptiness for like not doing something productive, not doing like homework or a project or whatever it is that I have throughout the week or the day or the month. So it just feels like my family and maybe other family members just wouldn't understand the struggle, the sacrifices that you have to make. There are plans that I've canceled due to having a project or having to do something school related, and I just wouldn't understand. And they just don't understand. I'm sorry, I keep repeating myself, but it's just sometimes it's unbearable just having all this stress and anxiety due to all the projects and stuff. But yeah, they will they actually just won't understand until they've actually been to university, met the struggles of what it's like going to a higher education.
Yeah, stress and anxiety in college are a very real thing. Um, I do want to end on a lighter note because we will be wrapping up soon. What is an accomplishment or a trailblazing moment that you've been proud of for your family? Why don't we start with you, Brianda?
So a big accomplishment that I've had is actually getting accepted to a university because I thought that I wasn't going to get um, accepted due to my status of being undocumented, and also getting a good scholarship that actually pays for everything, well, maybe except for like housing and food and such, but that's not really a problem. So that's the things that I'm excited for accomplishing.
Hema, what about you?
Um, as much as I don't like to be like define myself by what I do and just things like that, I am so like incredibly proud of just not just getting accepted into college and getting scholarships to cover it, but like I said before, taking that leap. And for me, college is something like definitely like money that has that like in itself is very neutral, but it has a lot of associations that is kind of up to the individual person to overcome. So I'm proud that I haven't like backed out and I'm working through things and knowing that I'm just gonna that this is just another thing that I have to work towards overcoming. And yeah, I'm so proud that I decided to make that decision, even though there's a lot of um like obviously sometimes people don't approve when you're gonna be away from your family. Um but yeah, I'm proud of myself for that.
Um, yeah, so I think in my case, I'm really proud of how I just graduated a year ago. So I'm really proud of how my family, my mom and dad, we stood together. I think I went to Brophy College Prep, which is a predominantly white um, uh, private institution. So for us to be able to stand there together, graduating, doing one of these huge steps in our life, and for my parents as well, there's a language barrier, there's a culture barrier, there's fear because of our immigration status, but to be there present um, and not really focus on the fact that we're doing this kind of thing, we're proving that we are capable of doing these things, not really focusing on any like outside expectations or perspective or opinions, but just being happy in that moment with our accomplishment, and then just carrying that and help using that to develop our relationship. I'm very happy to say that like I feel like the relationship I have with my parents is a wholesome and supportive one, and I'm very grateful for that. And I definitely think I owe a lot of that just to our joint hard work in high school, and to be rewarded. I feel like it's okay to say rewarded. It's something that we often aren't okay with saying, um, of being able to go to college afterwards.
Yeah, you are all doing amazing things. And I know that everyone at Aliento is proud of all of you and that you guys will continue to do amazing things. And I also want to honor that, like, the little things are amazing things. You don't have to do something grand for it to be amazing. Um, at Aliento, we don't like to end with logistics, so we do want everyone who's watching to take action. Take care of your mental health. We will be having lives every Thursday about different topics. The next one is titled "What Else Can Latinas Do? Managing Stress, Pressures, and Expectations." It's all female panelists. So go check that one out next Thursday. You can also join our arts and healing workshops. This one will be May 21st at 11 a.m. in downtown Mesa. You can also join our open mic tomorrow at the Phoenix Hostel at 6 p.m. To be in community with all of you. And Aliento Fellow applications are open. Yes, thank you. So if you send it to people if you're interested in applying, if you want to be a bigger part of the Aliento community. Please apply. Yes, they open today. But we're gonna close the Aliento Way. If you don't know what the Aliento Way is, we're asking something that you're leaving in the space and something that you're taking. We'll go around our panelists, but I invite everyone to also drop it in the comments. I guess I'll start. I am taking a lot of hope. I'm glad that we ended with a hopeful question and that we ended with what you are all proud of, because you do all have a lot to be proud of. And I'm leaving a lot of stress. It's been a very stressful week. So yeah, and I'll pass it to Darian.
I am leaving also a lot of stress, tiredness. It is the last stretch before I get to go home again. And I'm taking a lot of hope and a lot of comfort. And I'll pass it to Hema.
I'm leaving a lot of worry, just not because of school, but because of just like life things and family things. And I'm taking and Darian touched on this before, a lot of pride and just a lot of insight that that it's great to get out of your own head sometimes and talk about these things. And yeah, I'm so thankful for giving us this platform to talk about these things, and I hope everyone really benefited from this conversation. And yeah, I'll pass it to Brianda.
So I'm also leaving stress and worry from all the things that are happening in the Capitol and whatnot. But I am taking in relief, because I'm relieved that I'm just not the only one that's like, oh my God, I'm the only first generation student to go to a higher education. So like, I just know that some of the struggles that we have are similar, but we'll get through this.
Yeah, thank you all for joining. Thank you for all of you for speaking about your experiences. And I won't be facilitating the next one, but there will be a next one next Thursday. So bye, y'all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.